Quentin Tarantino is one of the best directors working today, so let's rank his filmography. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a good one today. I'm the Movie Ranker, and today I'm ranking all 10 Quentin Tarantino films from worst to best. There is 10 if you include Kill Bill Volume 1 and Volume 2 as two separate movies. I know some people put them together, but for the sake of this ranking, they will be separate. So we got 10 films here. Tarantino, he's one of the most beloved directors working today. He's so good. He's great at making these unique, interesting characters with great dialogue scenes, and we get that shock factor most times with some violence in there as well. And he has a great style and a great eye for film. So this is going to be a tough ranking. A lot of these movies are seen as masterpieces, so no matter where I place them, people are going to be pissed off, but I apologize for nothing. This is how I rank these movies. Let me know how you rank them down in the comment section. We'll have a great discussion. Like the video, subscribe to the channel for more rankings. Without wasting any more time, let's dive in. So for me, coming into last place at number 10, I gotta go with Death Proof. Now, again, not a bad movie. Every one of Tarantino's films gets a positive rating from me. This one just happens to be my least favorite, but there's still some good things in here. I think Kurt Russell plays a great villain as Stuntman Mike. He's a very interesting character. Killing people with his car, you know, because his car is made to protect the stunt driver, obviously. But yeah, there's this one scene where he goes a head-on collision against another car full of girls, and it is really intense and bloody and gory. There's like legs flying and body parts and everything. It is crazy. Great cast in here. This might be Tarantino at his horniest if you've seen all the girls he casted in this film. And yeah, it's a pretty good movie. I really like that Zoe Bell's in here playing herself. She's a stunt woman who worked on shows like Xena. She was Xena's stunt double. She was also stunt doubled Uma Thurman in Kill Bill. So it's really cool. She worked with Tarantino a lot throughout these films. So it's just cool that she got to play herself, you know, as a stunt woman in this film. And yeah, that's a lot of the positives. The negatives, I find the movie moves at a very slow pace, especially the first half. I found it was unfortunate because we spend so much time with these characters, and then most of them just end up dying in midway through, and then we get a whole new group of characters again that we have to follow and learn and everything. And it's like, especially on rewatch, when you know that those first set of characters aren't going to last, it doesn't feel pointless, but it's just not as good as it could have been. There should have been at least one or two survivors from that first group, you know? But yeah, the ending to this film is friggin' crazy. The last 15-20 minutes or so, it is just balls to the wall, and it's so fun, so intense, and really heart-pumping adrenaline stuff. Really good stuff near the end. But yeah, it's just, the movie has some pacing issues, some issues with its story concerning the characters, I find. And Mary Elizabeth Winstead's in this movie, and she does not get enough screen time at all. I absolutely love her, so it was cool to see her in here. But yeah, she doesn't have a whole lot to do. So while it's still a very watchable film and has some cool gore, just not enough of it. There's just a couple scenes like that. But yeah, still a good watch that's definitely deserves your time. Coming in at number 9, I'm going with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now, I know some people consider this a masterpiece. Some even say this is easily Tarantino's best. It's just not exactly my type of Tarantino film. This may be his calmest movie. I mean, there isn't a whole lot of big on-screen action or anything. It's very much a slow burn, building up to this pretty cool, badass finale, again, much like Death Proof. Brad Pitt is friggin' amazing in here as Cliff. I mean, every time he's on screen, he just steals the show. He's so fun to watch, man. I love his charisma and just his character, how he's kind of laid back. He realizes that he's not the stunt guy he used to be, not the man he used to be, but he kind of accepts it. And I just like how he doesn't take no nonsense, especially from those hippies. You know, that's such a fun scene when he goes to the hippie ranch. But yeah, he's great. DiCaprio gives a hell of a performance as Rick fucking Dalton. But when the movie focuses on Rick Dalton for long periods of time and him acting, that's where the movie kind of slows down for me and is not as interesting as I would have liked it to be. Like I said, DiCaprio gives a hell of a performance, like one of his best actually. And he does have an interesting character, this washed up actor who, westerns aren't as big as they used to be, and he's kind of falling out of the times. This is the end of the golden age of cinema. We're transitioning into a new era. And it's just interesting. He struggles with his insecurities, with alcoholism and whatnot. So there's nothing wrong with his character. I find his character is really interesting. It's just what they do with him. They could have done more that interest me. I feel story wise. But this all leads to a very interesting final act at their house when these hippies who are part of Charles Manson's cult break in to kill them, and we get a Cliff on acid, and he's just like, "Whoa, is this real?" And that's definitely the highlight of the movie for me. Him fighting Bruce Lee in the first half is pretty fun as well. But yeah, the first half of this movie, just like Death Proof, kind of not for me. It picks up once they get to the hippie ranch, but before that, it's kind of a drag if I'm being honest. But that's just me. I'm not super into 60s, 50s, and 60s cinema, the golden age. So if I was, maybe this would be more my thing. And I do think they did a great job of putting you in 1969. It really does feel like it. Margot Robbie is also great as Sharon Tate, but again, she kind of doesn't have a whole lot to do in the film. She's kind of there for her looks, I guess. And yeah, we get a lot of dirty feet in this movie. Unfortunately, Tarantino's foot fetish really shines on here, but they're all like really dirty feet from these hippies that they keep showing. And it kind of makes me want to yell at the screen and tell them to go take a shower. But yeah, a pretty good movie with a badass final act, some really good performances. It's just kind of lacks in the story department for me. It's just not my type of thing. A lot of people like to compare this to what's that movie, Dazed and Confused, how that kind of lacks a story, and these are just supposed to be movies you put on to just get entertained by and just kind of follow the life of these characters and what happens to them. I get that, and I do agree with that comparison. I just prefer Dazed and Confused over this, so it is what it is. Still a good movie. I'm still glad it has its fans. Great soundtrack, like all Tarantino movies. Great performances. It's just the story that kind of lacks for me. But every movie above this is a lot better, for me anyway. Coming up next at number 8, I'm going with Inglourious Basterds. Now, again, huge step up from Death Proof and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for me. Now we're getting into the real good movies. These are movies I can put on anytime, and it was really hard to rank these next few. But I'm going with Inglourious Basterds for number 8. A very unique take on World War II and the Nazis and everything. Definitely a twist in history near the end with the theater. And yeah, that whole ending again. Tarantino always makes the most interesting and badass final acts in his movies, and this one's no different. But what this movie does best is the way it creates tension. Every time Christoph Waltz's character is on screen, he's like this head Nazi. There's so much tension because you know what he's capable of, and he's just, I don't know, he's scary actually when he's on screen, especially when he's a room one-on-one with somebody. You don't feel safe for that person, and his acting is just so damn good. Christoph Waltz, man, one of the best, and he plays this Nazi so well, and he's very intimidating. The whole Bastards crew are real fun to watch. They, them scalping and killing these Nazis, and how they have their own little mission in here. While we get like the side story with the Jewish girl who escaped when her family got murdered at the first, and she got away from the Nazis, and then she opens up this theater. I think her storyline's really interesting as well. She poses just as this French girl who's not Jewish, obviously, and it just so happens that the Nazis end up putting on a premiere of their propaganda movie at her theater, just because one of them likes her. So all that's super interesting, and every time she has to deal with the Nazis, again, tensions are at an all-time high, and I feel like that's what this movie does best. Even the scene where they meet the actress at the bar, and they're posing as Nazis, the bastards, a few of them, and there's real Nazis there. It's just like, are they gonna get caught? And this whole movie just leaves you on the edge of your seat. But like I said, that whole finale is just so awesome because you know what's coming. Their plan to kill all these Nazis and burn them alive and shoot them down and everything. It's so fun, and what they do to Hitler is just insane, and it's awesome. You know, when you're killing Nazis, everybody's gonna love it because Nazis are good in nobody's eyes unless you're a Nazi, right? So it's hard to hate what these people are doing to them. And yeah, I just really enjoyed this flick. It's unfortunate it's this low in my ranking, but like I said, Tarantino is freaking super solid when it comes to a director. So don't take these placements too hard if you love this film because it is masterfully crafted. I think it's a really good movie. Coming up next at number 7, I'm going with Jackie Brown. Now, this was a first time watch for me, actually. There's only one or two movies out of his filmography I never seen before, and this is one of them. Knew nothing about it, and I feel like this is probably his most overlooked film. It's not one that people talk about. It's very rare that I hear anybody mentioning Jackie Brown, and it's unfortunate because it's a very solid flick. This movie is pretty clever in its writing. Jackie Brown, played by Pam Grier, who does an excellent job, is this flight attendant who is working with his arms dealer, played by Samuel L. Jackson, to transfer money in that for his gun sales, or like, you know, in different places like down south and whatnot. And yeah, since she's a flight attendant, she can exchange the money back and forth without getting caught. The government agents catch on to this, and they want to set her up to catch her boss. But the way that it's interesting is Jackie Brown not only tries to screw over the gun dealer guy, right, to get him caught, but she's also screwing over the government agents because in the end she wants to walk away with the money without getting caught, right? And the way it plays out, it's just so interesting and very intricate, her plan, and she works with this Bonds guy to get her plan underway and to get it working, right? And the relationship she forms with the Bonds guy, the guy who bails people out with the bonds, pays their bonds. It's just really nice to see the relationship form, especially by the end when they give that final kiss, but they have to separate. And the Bonds guy's like has to take it in, right? There's people calling him for a job, and he's like, "Can I call you back?" And it's just so good. The cast in here is stellar. I already mentioned Pam Grier, but we get like Chris Tucker in here, which is great. Of course, Sam Jackson. We get Robert De Niro as a freaking stoner in here who just got out of prison, and it's just such an interesting character for him to play, like this more calm, laid back stoner guy. And it's just so funny. He has this great scene where he's fairly calm the whole movie, but this one chick just keeps annoying him, and he's just like, you talk one more time," because he forgets where he parks his car, and she keeps talking, and he just ends up blowing her away with his gun. And it's like, and he's trying to tell his boss, "Well, she annoyed me, you know, she was just nagging me for not knowing where I parked the car," and it's a hilarious scene, and it's just really cool to see De Niro as this type of character. But yeah, a great acting all around the board, and the characters are all super interesting. Everybody's a little shady, you know. There's some backstabbing in here, like even Sam Jackson's girl, not really girlfriend, but a place where he stays with this blonde chick, even she's kind of trying to plan against him, to her and De Niro take the money and run. And like everybody's kind of conniving in here, and they're all kind of shady characters, and none of them, like, they're all flawed. Even Sam Jackson as a gun dealer, like, he makes multiple mistakes throughout this film, and it's just very interesting. Definitely one you should check out. It's not my favorite Tarantino movie, obviously, but again, I just feel like it's so overlooked in its filmography. Maybe on rewatch, this one won't hit as hard since I know how it's going to play out and the plan and everything. But my first time watching this, I had such a blast, especially seeing Michael Keaton in here as well. He's one of the federal agents, and yeah, he plays it well as well. It's so fun to watch, and all these interactions are awesome. So definitely give Jackie Brown a look up if you haven't seen it before, because it's a real fun one. Coming up next at number 6, I'm going with Kill Bill Volume 2. Now, I always tend to forget how great Volume 2 is. Like, in my head, I always go back and say Volume 1's way better, which obviously I still prefer to Volume 2, but man, Volume 2 is damn good as well. I think that there's just one little section of the movie that really slows down pacing wise, uh, especially when Uma Thurman's character, the bride, is getting trained by the Asian dude, by the master. I feel that kind of slows down a bit, but you need that in the film because it really builds on her character. But yeah, this movie's just so fun, man. She continues her journey on killing everybody on her list who screwed her over, those assassins. We get Bud in here, played by Michael Madsen. He's friggin' great. I like him in all the Tarantino movies. But yeah, this one's just so fun. They bury her alive. She has to get out of that, and it's just one thing after another. She goes after Bud, and that girl with the one eye patch. I can never remember her name. I think she might be Cottonmouth or whatever. I love all their little code names. How they're all like these snake types of snakes. But yeah, the girl with the eye patch, she's so good. I don't know what's the actress's name. I almost want to look it up. Um, just give me a second. I think it's a Daryl Hannah. Her character's Elle Driver, I guess her real name. But Daryl Hannah, she plays it so well. I'd love to see her in more films. And yeah, she has this crazy fight in the trailer with the bride, with the two, like a sword battle samurai fight. It's so friggin' good. And what the bride does to her is insane and very shocking. I also love how Bud opens the case of money and gets a black mamba into the face. It's very intense. It's so fun. And this all leads to the bride making it finally to Bill. And what Bill does to protect himself is friggin' genius. How he uses her daughter to get in between them, right? And just the whole scene when she shows up and the daughter's like, with the plastic guns, like, "You're dead, mommy. You're supposed to die." And I'm just like, what clever writing. I don't know how Tarantino does it, but these character moments and the dialogue are just so damn good. And of course, this all results into the final little fight. It's not as big and extravagant as you might think, the final battle against Bill, but still, the way he goes out is just so awesome. I forget what they call it in this movie, but it's like the five finger death punch, basically. And yeah, this movie is kind of underrated as well. Of course, I still prefer Volume 1, but don't sleep on Volume 2. It's definitely worth a watch. And I really wish we would get a Volume 3, like a 20 years later thing, with the children of these assassins grown up and wanting revenge and whatnot. So I'm still dreaming of a Volume 3 someday. But Volume 2 is definitely good, has some real cool scenes in it. And yeah, it might be a little slower than Volume 1, but it's still excellently made. Coming in at number 5, I'm going with The Hateful Eight. Kind of another overlooked Tarantino film, and this was another first time watch. I have seen pieces of it when this came out. I think it was on Netflix or something, and someone was watching it, and I kind of walked by and watched a few scenes, but I didn't have anything spoiled for me. I didn't really know what was going on watching it. So this was kind of a first time watch for me, and wow, talk about a good mystery. Like, you never know what anybody's intentions are in this film. You got all these strangers who are all kind of connected somehow that end up at this cabin during a blizzard, this kind of inn place. And yeah, you everybody's kind of looking at each other like they don't trust anybody. Everybody comes from different backgrounds, and it's tension filled, but the mystery's so good. You're really trying to figure out who's good and who's bad. And someone poisons the coffee and everything. It's almost like a game of Clue, but Tarantino style. And definitely a lot more bloody. This movie, by the end, there's so much damn blood and bullet holes and shit in everybody. It's intense. But yeah, it's so good. The characters are rich. This is post Civil War, but yet the tensions are still high between the North and the South, and we get these type of characters all intermingled in this cabin. And at one point, they have to split the cabin in two, like for the North and the South, and just how sometimes in the film, the North and the South people have to work together against some of the other ones, which is not something you would expect from these people. They have to put away their differences to work together. And I think this is an extremely well done movie. Again, an amazing cast from Sam Jackson, Kurt Russell with his big friggin' mustache. It's friggin' huge. The Daisy character, the only female that's with them, is probably hands down the best performance in this film. I wish I knew her name as well. Jennifer Jason Leigh. She is so damn good. I love her accent too. And she's chained up most of this movie, but she still gives a hell of a performance. It's a longer film, it's a slow burn, but it is burning, and it's constantly burning towards that ending. And I just love how everything wrapped up. The mysteries are so damn good. It just, every time you think you figured something out, something else would happen. You're like, and it would change your perspective on everything. And now you're second guessing everybody in the cabin. So definitely worth a watch. The Hateful Eight. It's almost 3 hours long, but it's worth it, guys. Definitely one I'll be revisiting in the future. Up next at number 4, we're getting into the real heavy hitters now. Reservoir Dogs. This was the other movie that was a first time watch for me, one I have always known about, but I never really gave it a chance, I guess. Tarantino's debut, and it is so damn good, man. I hate putting it in fourth. I want to put it higher, but I just can't because of the movies above it. But yeah, again, a great mystery. You get a robbery gone wrong, and then all the gangsters meet back up and are pointing the finger at each other. Who's the rat? Who's the informant? The cop in between them. And again, just a great mystery trying to figure out who's bad, who's good. And when all is revealed, it's just a crazy showdown in the end. I love it. You got that really iconic moment with Michael Madsen's character when he's left alone with that cop that's tied up. And he starts going real crazy. You're thinking he's probably not that bad of a guy. He might be the cop. But once everybody leaves, you know right away he's not the cop. And the way he dances to Stuck in the Middle with You, it's so damn good and weird and funny and everything all wrapped in one. And he's torturing the cop. It's pretty messed up, but it is very iconic and memorable. Such a good debut from Tarantino. A very stacked cast. I love all their code names. How they're like Mr. Purple, Mr. Pink. Not Mr. Purple. Mr. Pink wanted to be Mr. Purple, but he wasn't allowed to be. But yeah, Mr. Blonde and everything. How none of these characters really know each other, so it's hard for them to figure out who's the cop. And just very well made, great soundtrack, great performances. Steve Buscemi is freaking hilarious in here. I think he's a big standout. I wish he would have been in more Tarantino movies. But yeah, just for a debut, just really clever writing, clever directing. You can already see his style coming in here with the chapters and everything. Even though he does suffer from having a low budget, but he does the most that he can with the budget that he's given. A lot of it taking place in this warehouse. But it's just, since the dialogue and everything's so interesting, you're never bored. It's never a dull moment in this flick. Reaching the top 3 is getting tough. For number 3, I'm going with Kill Bill Volume 1. This movie has so much style. It's oozes style. Probably his most stylistic film he's ever made. It's just so good. This came out at a time where, I've seen Pulp Fiction multiple times in my life when I was younger. It came out in 93 or 4, and I think 94, and I was born in 91, so it's pretty much been out my whole life. But when this came out, I was like the perfect age. What was it, 2003? So I was like 12, 13 at the time, and I just fell in love with the violence, the style, everything about this movie. I thought Uma Thurman is friggin' she was excellent in here. So good. The fighting scenes are so intense. The movie starts right off with a crazy ass fight in the house, right? Her taking on one of the assassins. And right from the get-go, you know what you're getting yourself into with the choreography and that and the fighting style. It's just so damn fun to watch. Then her little daughter shows up and it's like, what is going on in this film? And that's how the movie starts. Really, it's the ending of the story in this movie, but again, Tarantino's good at jumping from the future to the past, right? And making it all flow pretty nicely. Yeah, but Uma Thurman's yellow friggin' suit that she has near the end is so iconic. The battle at the end, which is taking on all those Asians, it's friggin' intense. And you got the 1 2 3 4s playing, great song in the background. You got that high school chick with the friggin' spike ball thing. It's just so interesting, very cool. You can tell there's so many influences put in here from samurai movies to there's even an anime section of the film, which is incredibly violent and bloody. I remember that was like a big standout to me when I watched this for the first time because anime was not as big back then as it is now. You had to be really into that type of thing to see it. But yeah, it's just cool to see it in a Hollywood film like this. And it's just such a clever story, a really good revenge tale. We've seen revenge tales a million times, but this one just flies by at an incredible pace, is ultra violent, has great choreography, great characters. Again, like I said in the volume 2, I love the code names of all the assassins, like how she's Black Mamba and everything, and how the black chick's like, I should have been Black Mama, Mamba. And just little comedy moments like that are hilarious. Lucy Liu is a pretty great villain. I love her. And this was at a time where I was watching Lucy Liu in so many things. And yeah, it's just such a great stylistic film. From the camera angles to the way it goes from black and white to anime to, the color palettes, the amount of blood used in the film. It's just a friggin' a masterpiece, even though I have it in third place. It's such a good friggin' flick, and the story is just so rich. This assassin world, Uh, Up to this point, Tarantino basically was sticking with the crime genre, but he was always looking at different sides of the crime genre, from gangsters to assassins to everything. So, friggin' love this flick. Kill Bill Volume 3 at number 3, or Volume 1 at number 3 for me. Coming in at number 2, I'm going with Django Unchained. Man, what a friggin' good movie. Better than what I remembered. I seen it when it came out, and for some reason I just never happened to rewatch this. Giving this a rewatch, I was like, holy shit, is this ever fun for being like a slave type film? Christopher Waltz again steals the show as this German bounty hunter who teams up with Django, makes him a free man. And for the first half of this film, they're just bounty hunting, and it's just so fun. Um, Christoph Waltz, his charisma and the way he interacts with these characters, he's always so calm and cool when people want to kill him and that. And he's just like, go get your sheriff. And he always has a trick up his sleeve. He knows what he's doing. And he's such an incredible actor in here. And back to back, from Inglourious Basterds to Django Unchained, he goes from being one of the most despicable characters ever to one of the most likable characters ever. That just shows you how great of an actor he is. And he's freaking fantastic in here. Kind of steals the show. But Jamie Foxx is also freaking amazing as Django. I love how he forms this friendship with the doctor, that's the bounty hunter, and how the bounty hunter like teaches him how to read better. And they form this great bond and great relationship over the course of this movie, to the point where he's willing to help Django out find his wife and recover so they can be together again, because they got separated in the slave trades and stuff. And yeah, it's just such a great adventure type flick. It just flies right by for its runtime. We do eventually get to where his wife's being stayed, and Leonardo DiCaprio runs the place, runs Candyland. Him and Sam Jackson is like his little servant or whatever. And yes, Sam Jackson, man, they do him like, he seems like he's 90 years old in this film with the makeup and the way he goes on. He freaking kills it in this role, and so does DiCaprio. Of course, we get that famous scene where he smashes the glass by accident and like cuts his hand open in real life, and kept going with the scene just to go show how dedicated DiCaprio is nowadays when it comes to these types of roles. He's so friggin' good, man. Whether his character is written great or not, he always delivers. And yeah, such a great movie. And like I said, the slaves type movie, they're not usually my type of thing, but this one is definitely the best I've ever seen. It's another masterpiece. It does kind of feel like it's going to end when they're at the mansion to get his wife back, but then there's like another half an hour after that. I'm not mad at it for having like an extended ending, even though it kind of feels like it should end already. But that extended part is just as fun as before, and we get Tarantino doing a crazy Australian accent, and we get to see him explode. So that's always fun. I'm not mad about that. So yeah, Django Unchained, very underrated. Just such a damn good flick from start to finish. But for me, coming in the first place, I had to give it to Pulp Fiction. Now, this movie I've known my whole life. Like I said, I was only born a couple of years before this came out, and it's just so iconic. Even the soundtrack, I had the CD, I remember, at my house, or my brother had it or wherever when I was growing up, and this used to play all the time in the stereo. We had Miserlou, and of course the Jack Rabbit twist. That is such a great track, man. And it makes for a really iconic scene in the film with Travolta and Uma Thurman's character dancing on the dance floor to it and like old school type dancing. It's so damn fun to watch. A movie that twists three or four tales together in a real interesting way. It's almost plays out like an anthology, but it's a bit more connected than your regular anthology. And again, he goes through different parts of time. Like the movie's kind of scrambled the way the time frame works, but it's never confusing, and it does flow nicely by the end. Um, One of the most standout casts I've ever seen, from Tim Roth to Sam Jackson to Travolta to Bruce Willis to, man, the list goes on, and everybody friggin' delivers. The dialogue is some of the best dialogue driven scenes I've ever seen in my life, especially between the two gangsters, Travolta and Sam Jackson's character, Vincent, and what's his name? Like, they're so damn good. It's hard to remember names after watching 10 of these movies back to back with such stacked casts and characters, you know? But yeah, their dialogue scenes are so good. And once Sam Jackson's character thinks that he's like a prodigy of God after he doesn't get hit with the bullets, it's just so fun where the movie goes from there. And yeah, it has a bunch of shocking scenes to keep you invested besides the interesting dialogue. The big standout scene for me, especially when I was a kid, was when Uma Thurman's character ODs and she's like dying there and they have to give her an adrenaline shot. That is intense, man. Very intense, especially since she's the head gangster's wife. You know, and the head gangster, he's basically connects everybody in this story, right? For the most part. He's the connecting piece in here. Just so damn good. It's a long one, but it's, again, never boring. Every section of this movie is so good. It'd be so hard to choose which is my favorite. If I had to, it might be the Uma Thurman Travolta section of the movie where they go to the Jack Rabbit twist. That might be my favorite. It's just because it's so memorable and iconic, but literally every section of this movie is so good, especially near the end when Bruce Willis and them get friggin' captured and they're about to get raped. What an intense, shocking movie. There's so many twists and turns in here, from robbery to abuse to drugs to everything you can think of thrown in here. All the bad stuff that have to do with the gangster's life is all in here. I just love how the characters are all intertwined. Banging soundtrack, some of the best cast members I've ever seen, and performances. A really great story that's incredibly memorable and iconic. What is there not to love about Pulp Fiction? It's most people's favorite Tarantino movie, and I see why. And this was only his second film he made right after Reservoir Dogs, and he just batted it out of the park, and he hasn't looked back since. And this is the reason why he's one of the best modern directors working today. So yeah, Pulp Fiction comes in the first place in my ranking. It's so damn good. So there you have it, guys. There's my ranking of all 10 Tarantino movies from worst to best. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, that's my list, not your list, but I'd love to see your list. Some people say Inglourious Basterds is his best movie. Some say Django is his best movie. A lot of people say Pulp Fiction is his best movie. So there's no winning when it comes to ranking this list. No winning with the public or the modern audiences. So I'd love to hear how you rank it. You can follow me on Instagram and Letterboxd. Links to those are always in the descriptions of my video, guys. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will return with more rankings. So I hope you enjoyed that, and until next time, thanks for watching.